Because to me, that's really derogatory.
African American?
African American is derogatory.
Okay.
Because I'm black or brown or mocha or whatever you want to call me, but I am, and I may have some roots in Africa. Some, not all. But I'm not from Africa.
Hey,
I am American, but I'm not from Africa. From Africa.
Why?
And I used to be Negro. I used to be nigger.
Colored.
I used to be colored.
Colored. Yes,
And
sir.
then I became black, and that was more comfortable because that described more accurately where I was at. But nigger,
Right.
nigger to me, it's one of those things. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good everything, good twilight, good dawn, good sunset,
Good Friday!
and it will be a good Friday.
Tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of Old Black Man Conversation. I am your co-host today, Brother David Harold Dudley III, aka Cool Breeze. And my partner in crime is
Hi there. In crime? Well, I guess, yeah, maybe.
Diddy.
I'm the real Cliff Barnes, and I'd just like to welcome everybody. And it's good to be here. And it's Good Thursday, so it's going to be a Good Friday, which is tomorrow for real.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually good to be anywhere because
True.
some
True that.
people ain't nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Like your boy Diddy or Trump,
Well, you know, it's somewhere. They just can't seem to find them. They're out there doing all kinds of strange and bizarre stuff.
Well,
according to reports.
Sure, but if you listen to these lawyers and whatnot, anytime the Homeland Security gets involved in shit, they know.
Yeah.
Because they got to go through such extreme steps in order to get to the point of going to your home or doing whatever.
Right.
So there's got to be great probable cause and some really good evidence. And the other thing is, Diddy ain't lost. We just don't know where he's at.
No,
I mean, they know exactly where he's
yeah.
at. They know exactly where it's at.
They can follow planes and
No, they know
and
because
just-
they got their stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
When they did the raid, they knew exactly where he was at. I mean,
yeah, well, they knew he wasn't there, so yeah, I know.
totally missed the point.
No, I didn't. They know a lot.
We have this issue going.
But
it doesn't bother me, but it bothers a lot of folk, and I think it deserves an answer, and that's nigger. Or nigger.
Okay,
Or
so let's
Negroes.
present that. Let's present the whole case of what we're talking about. Like, I got a problem with
the N-word.
Or the N-word, yeah, you're right.
That's the N-word. That's what, you know.
But I personally don't. I mean, you and I came up from the era where what offends me today is not the word nigger. It's not nigger. What offends me is, hey, there's an African American girl over there, or a lady, or a man, or a woman. That bothers me. But probably because we came from the era of, hey, Negro, all the Negroes need to be all in line, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And then also from the South and Southeast, because when we was coming up, there was a lot lot of segregation. It wasn't just like a here
I'm
or
I'm
there.
sorry. I need clarification, and because I mean, just as a viewer, break that. What? Say that again. Because it sounded like you said you don't necessarily have a problem with the word, them words, but you have a problem with with African American lady.
Correct.
Okay, explain that because that doesn't make sense to me.
Because to me, that's really derogatory.
African American.
African American is derogatory.
Okay.
Because I'm black or brown or mocha or whatever you want to call me, but I am, and I may have some roots in Africa. Some, not all. But I'm not from Africa.
Hey,
I am American, but I'm not from Africa. From Africa.
Why?
And I used to be Negro. I used to be nigger.
Colored.
I used to be colored.
Colored. Yes,
And
sir.
then I became black, and that was more comfortable because that described more accurately where I was at. But nigger,
Right.
nigger to me, it's one of those things where, well, I'm not a nigger.
There you go. I mean, well, even by definition in Webster's or whatever in dictionary back in the day when they defined it, it didn't have a color. They just said this means this, and it could apply to just about any human on the planet.
Yeah.
But another thing is, as far as the racism goes and all of that, I mean, just because this person is a different color or this person speaks a different language, you gotta hate them because other people in your group hate them too. So you have a lot of people that are just, followers, and if these people use the word, they figure it's all right because we're with them, so we're gonna use this word to describe these people or this, And the thing is, one of the last real African Americans that I met was white. It was a white dude that was born and raised in South Africa. Now he's more African American than I am. My roots are, at this point in time in my life, all American. I've never even been close to Africa. So I kind of agree with you. I don't necessarily say it's offensive or feel that it's offensive, but I can't relate to it.
Well, I think it's offensive from the aspect that we, or white America, or whomever it may be that decides such things, don't seem to know what people like you and I and people like us with a different color skin should be called. And so they make shit up, and let's not get it twisted. We're here in this country, people of our texture and of our color, way back in the day, were able to work and survive in all of these elements and not die. That's why we were here, to work and to make money for those who colonized the place. That's what we were here for. So we had to be made to seem, we had to get names that made us seem not the same as the indentured servants that used to be,
Right.
or even the Indians. So we became
And they're misnamed.
niggas. And they gentrified it to Negro because it sounded better
And it also means black in Spanish.
to the Quakers and whatnot who were against this.
But if you check it out, when immigrants came from Europe and whatever, They just brought him and they said, "Oh, this is an American." They didn't say this is a Irish American. This is a Danish American. This is a German American. They just accepted him. It's like, okay, once you done pass this Ellis Island and once you're here, you're just an American. Whereas with us, they have to make a specific, it's like, oh, well, he's African American. No, it's not. He's just an American. But that is lost because
it never was. Because it never was and it never was intended.
Yeah.
So really, to me, it wasn't lost. It's intended. It's intention.
It's intentional.
That's how it is.
Yeah, but the thing is, besides the color of our skin, they still felt they had to make a distinction between us and American. They just had, I don't know if they just didn't know what to do with us outside of, working in the fields or whatever the hell, but they had to make that distinction. They had to distinguish themselves from us.
Okay, so I will jump in. I agree. I don't particularly vibe with the term African American. Mm-hmm. I don't really. It's not,
or even Afro American.
Do you guys ever think okay, we have certain reasons why we don't like African American. I prefer black. But what about if you guys talk to anybody who doesn't prefer to be called black and they prefer African American?
More so when I was a youngster and I was in the deep south, nobody wanted to be called black. Except for me, because my grandfather's influence. Mm-hmm. He was a Garveyite, so he was a commissioner for the UNIA, which is Universal Negro Improvement Association, and then he was the president of the New Orleans chapter. So, in a sense, I was black before it was cool. I mean, because they were referring, all the signs said colored only, or and then on my birth certificate it says Negro. Mm. And so, not relating to that because the teachings that going to meetings with my grandfather, all the men in there were black men, and they had their little uniforms on and they had all black with green and red piping. So, everybody around me was colored and Negro and what have you, but if anybody asked me, I was black. Yeah. And so I can relate to that. And then all these other names, there was Afro-American, colored Negro, Afro-American. Didn't mean shit. From when I was a kid, we were black.
Now, and also you think, so we have so many different, as you just kind of pointed out, so many different names to describe us as a people. Right. Okay, kind of two-part question. One, does it seem to y'all, see, black people are creative folks, and the fact that we have all these different names that we didn't really give ourselves, but we've embraced, would you say that's on us that we now have the moniker of African American because we've accepted it, or I guess I don't really know my question. I don't know. With so many different names, how do you distinguish the ones that are offensive versus?
I think it's impossible to, because getting back to nigga, to me, nigga is not offensive. It's also not derogatory, but it bothers me if I hear the wrong person using it, and if that makes any sense.
Well, I'm gonna be white devil's advocate. No, it don't. Just because you literally contradict yourself in that sentence, it doesn't offend me, but it does offend me. So
I got you. It doesn't offend me personally as a person of color.
Okay.
Okay? But it offends me when someone who is not a person of color uses it because it sounds vile, it sounds dirty, it sounds nasty. And when I use it, and when I hear the people of color use it, most of the times it's in satirical terms or it's done with affection. Nigga, please.
Exactly.
I mean, big difference.
So, but the thing is also back in the day, the reason why, in my opinion, people accepted being called colored or Negro besides black or whatever is because they didn't want to be called nigger. And that's the whole thing, you know? And through time and everything, you know, people were referring to each other as that in, like you were saying, a different context. But when others say it, and the way they say it, and the context in which they say it makes a whole lot of difference as far as, you know, how the word is used or how, you know, but I mean, when we was kids, nobody wanted to be black. They wanted to be colored or they wanted to be Negro or whatever. So, and that was back in the 50s
and nobody wanted
and
to be
60s.
African either. Nobody wanted to be African either.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, which is very interesting how they accepted Afro-American, because that was before African-American.
Right.
When we were in around college age, high school, college, that's when all of a sudden that was a new term, Afro-American.
Okay, I don't know how you guys were slaying the word, but just off context, it's Afro-American for a black person who has an afro. That's easy to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
American afro.
That's where that came.
Yeah, I'm like that's easy to get behind.
And that was and that became that hairstyle became an afro because people realized it really wasn't nothing natural about it the way we were
called
dealing.
it natural at first.
At first it was called a natural, but then when you spray it afro sheen and picking and combing and that ain't nothing natural about that. Now,
well, see, now I get an afro. I've never used afro sheen.
Well,
that seems unnecessary.
But that's what was available for. There was afro sheen and several hair products that were, available for black.
Okay.
Hair products. But
I really wanted to stay on nigga, but you know what? I want to let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about black hair and hair products and like styles that black folks will say is natural.
Just about what every athlete has on their head when they do interviews. You know, because there's a lot of people, it's way closer to natural because they just kind of get up, mess with it a little bit and hit the street.
Yeah.
They ain't spraying and they ain't picking and combing. I mean, you see some of the hairdos. Example, The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That's way more natural than what we was doing.
Yeah, okay. This thing is like people like Cam Newton. I feel like he puts sticks in his hair and ties his hair.
Well,
it stands up too straight. That's weird to me. But really with hair, I think about hair products. Mm-hmm. Now I am not a chemist. I am not a hair person. So I don't know what these chemicals do. But I know that there are chemicals that can change the texture of your hair, do whatever to put the hair in the style that you want it.
Hair straighteners.
Now the question is, do you guys think, now this might just be my conspiracy theory coming out, theorists coming out. Do y'all think that it was a plan from the white community to get us to put chemicals in our hair to change what actual natural hair might do? Or do you think that black folks wanting something different than what
I think back in the day, back at the turn of not this century but the century before,
1800s to 1900s.
Madam C.J. Walker was a big chemist, hair person, and I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, a lot of the guys that were, as they used to say back in the day, funny, saw what she was doing with the women's hair and decided they wanted with their hair, and that kind of filtered down to the normal, to the people who weren't funny.
Well,
And so, like, even back when I was living in Moses Lake, and my parents and the rest of the family was living here in Seattle, on the weekends when I would come to Seattle, because I seen all these guys walking around with their hair slicked back and looking all cool and shit. I found out what it was, that concholine. And so I went and I found some here in Seattle and found the whole shebang you needed to do. Then, the next time I came to Seattle, the night before, I would do my hair. Because I wanted to look like the kids in Seattle. But see, that was probably a limited thing, because I only saw kids that were in the neighborhood. There weren't any black ones except for the Montgomerys, and the kids at church. And that's where that concholine stuff came in. Now you see people walking down the street with their hair laid back and looking all thick and clean. But that was just a phase.
Well, let's talk about entertainers, because that process and that conch and stuff was happening, and you looking at TV. So just like now, people emulate what they see on the tube.
Well, I didn't see that.
Well, okay.
No, I'm telling you.
I was about to say, I see his point. Regardless, you saw the cool people,
Right.
and was like, I want that.
But I mean, I'm coming from my experience. Like I'm saying, if you look at, well, say James Brown. Remember James Brown was all slick back and everything. Little Anthony and the Imperials, you know, all those groups and all those entertainers did that, and so a lot of us who had watched it, well, I have to say a lot of them because I never went through that myself, but a lot of people that watched them, they emulated that style. And black people have been, you know, like women with perms and straightening their hair and stuff and hot combs and all that shit, you know, so it was just something that people were emulating what they saw other people, and in some cases famous people, do. In your case, it was kids in the neighborhood, not necessarily brought on by the fact that
not even
you've seen it on TV.
Not even kids in the neighborhoods, it's kids in the CD.
Well, that's, yeah, you know, but that was their hood.
That was there, not
Right,
mine.
not yours.
And you came and found something new and tried to do it. I think we're saying the same thing here.
Right. When you came here, you came from a different environment, and this is what you observed. You know.
So now with that, I know we have a history now. I mean, you can look back at black hair through the decades and see the different trends and styles and what have you. Do you think that that is the hair styling is now a black cultural thing? Or do you think that we still have a culture? Let me see. How do I say that? Do you think the changing of styles of hairstyles is black culture, or does black culture still have, like, this is what black folks mainly do, and then we have offshoots? I don't know if I asked that right, but
I think it is. I think it is part. The hairstyling, just like clothes, is part of a segment of the black culture.
Does the white culture have that same segment?
They may have, but we don't notice it because we ain't white.
Yeah, I guess that's been the question. That we know of.
But I mean, a lot of them have wild hairdos and things to be different and to be noticed. I'm talking about entertainers.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about the general society, but then people will emulate that.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, how many? You know, there's so many. I remember back in the day, the only people that had blue hair was old black women. You remember that? When they was all they would have. They would put some kind of chemical in their hair when it all got gray and silver. That's the closest I ever see. Now you see people just walking down the street daily with different color hair.
Yeah, I was gonna get some red hair.
You know, and it's a red that's not found in nature. I mean, you know, you see people with all different colors hair. Now, that's a trend or you know, not necessarily a fad because it's been going on for a lot of years, but that was a trend that happened, you know, in the white community more so than the black community as far as the different colors. But the different hairstyles, I don't know, I think that's just a human thing. It don't matter what part of society, you know, whether you decide this is the way I want my hair to be, or, you know, I mean, now there's a lot more people that are bald, young man. They just, you know, way more people, not only black and white, but way more people are choosing to be bald than back in the day, even though they still got hair club for men and get your hair back and all that shit. The whole point is, this is what an individual chooses to do with their body. So
I guess to bring it all back with the hair thing, to wrap that segment up, is it seems that every few decades, well, from the past, at least, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And then you start to get into the dreads and stuff.
Right.
But it seems that, you know, every decade it was a new cultural thing in the black community. Now, do you think that's something that will continue to be like, we'll continue to set a trend as far as black folks and hair and the way it kind of goes? Or like, do you think that's our legacy, is every 10 years we set a trend? Or do we have something that's already set in stone that it's like, this is...
I just think it's something that happens. I think it's more a thing of kids coming through, okay, and as they get older, they don't want to be their parents. So they do the opposite, or they go an opposite direction. And I think that's the only cycle that there is. It continues. It's been going on for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah.
So, okay, I hear it. I think I agree with that. So do y'all think that white folks have that same experience?
I do.
Absolutely.
I do. And it may take a different form or a different shape as...
Really, that's where I was going. Do you think they have the same shape experience? I think they definitely have different in the child wanting to. But just keeping with the topic, hair. You know, that cultural... Because for black people, hair is very important. I don't know if it's that important for white people. You know, that's really kind of the question. And I guess we need a white guest to really have this conversation. Maybe that's why I'm struggling with the ask, because I'm like, but that's white.
But the thing is, before the 60s, people go, oh yeah, all these kids got long hair. It's the 60s and blah, blah, blah. Try not to be like their parents who all had really short hair. But go back to the, well, I guess they called the founding fathers. Ben Franklin and all them guys had long hair. And a lot of them would have them powdered wigs and shit. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder whose job it was to line up the powdered wigs. Like, a little off.
and how much powder to put in them and stuff. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, trends just go, You know, I mean, there was Jerry Curls for a while, and people was running
Yeah, Jerry
around.
Curl. I remember the
Yes.
Curl juice.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The whole thing is, I mean, me and a black comedian I was working with was running around Boise, Idaho, trying to find conditioner and activator and shit. You know, found it, knew it was there, but we just wanted to kind of shake up a few older white people's worlds by and they're sitting there looking at us like, you know, 'cause you go to beauty supply places and hair and barbers and hairdressers, not knowing how to deal with black hair care.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, but it's a thing where I think it starts getting closer down to the individual, whether or not you want to follow that trend, or you know, and I call it a trend because it changes.
But really, with the white folks, I mean, they said it. Yes, the long hair. You know, from the 50s to the 60s. Okay, I definitely think white people would have that same
And 60,
flight.
60 to 70s, yeah.
But after that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I just did the hair just interested me. We can go back to nigga or whatever.
Did you notice, speaking of hair, that your nephew's hair changed? He went from the tall fade.
Yeah, like
Yeah, he had to grow it out. So think of
now he's got the curls.
Yeah, no, think of it. Well, they're braids. They're
Braids,
not. Yeah.
curls, whatever.
But think of the movie Class Act with Kid and Play.
Kid and Play, right?
Kid had the flat top, and then they twisted it down, and then that's the same thing.
Now he just has a kind of a short afro or short.
I had the twist, but
You know, yeah.
he shaped his into a flat top so they could hang down. Mine was a whole fro. So and my hair ain't his hair.
Yeah.
He's closer to the whites.
Yeah, he's got straighter hair than I do.
His granddaddy's white.
Mixed heritage.
Or his great granddaddy.
Somebody, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's just trends that people go through, and it doesn't seem to matter. It's just a human thing. It doesn't seem to matter because everybody, every section, every group, every culture, whatever, has a difference, and ours was more free. You know, I mean, because you look at other cultures around the world and people are afraid to be different. And here we supposedly encourage people to be different.
You know what? Now that I think about it, my parents, when I tried to wear an afro at first, were not having it. They were not having it. I mean, they made me go up to Mr. Nesbitt and William too and get our shit cut.
Yeah.
I mean, there was not going to be none of that militant stuff in their house.
Right.
Militant? I thought militant would have been
for
cutting.
sure. Same thing. My hair, I had a shorter fro. It was a little longer than back in the day. When you remember the Covadas, where it was all short and then trying to wavy and then lined for whatever the hell. Anyway, wasn't that? It was a little longer than that. But I didn't grow a lot of hair and have a afro until I moved out. I mean, as long as I was in their house, they wasn't getting with it. You know, my dad was he had his you know, military haircut, I guess. You know, and that was another thing. A lot of guys came out the military and kept that short butch, whatever you called it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a Corvadas. You said and then the thing is, you go in the barbershop and they would have like a poster on the wall with like a dozen different styles of haircut.
And they all look the same.
Yeah. Thank you. It was just like, and some of them was profile and some of them was straight on, and it was just, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but you know,
culture
actually,
differences.
it actually finally got to the point that my dad said, "Fuck this." He brought him some clippers, and he said, "Our ass is down. What? Your hair's looking a little too long. Sit down."
I'm telling you, and he had been in the military for quite a while.
Right.
That's my dad. That's what I'm saying. So there's so many things that affect the trends, societal trends, as far as hair or makeup or whatever the hell. I mean,
But it looks like it's more generational than anything else.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be like I said before. I'm not gonna be like my parents.
right.
Yeah.
And that made a difference in, the way it was like, okay, we could have long hair, and then when it comes time we get out of school, whatever, and we're applying for jobs and stuff, we cut our hair, cut back on the afro and what have you, but we're still black. Whereas the young white kids, they had hair all the way down to their waist. Once they graduate and try to get into business and society, what have you, they just cut their hair and they're a totally different person.
Yeah.
So,
Something I went through when I first started growing mine, or letting my hair grow out to an afro, was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys and some of the girls laughed at me because my hair was not black.
Okay.
I had that reddish tint to it like Gleason. Remember
Oh,
Gleason?
yeah.
I had that reddish tint, except it wasn't like his. It was just like a little here, a little there. They laughed at me, and I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed enough to go to the store with my little hard-earned money and find some fucking black dye. And I dyed my hair.
I mean, you ever just had a natural red tint?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I didn't want to get laughed at.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't all black or all reddish.
Right.
It was
Right.
so
Well,
yeah. So because I mean, like you were saying,
that makes sense. It wasn't Megan born with red hair?
Yeah, sure.
Man,
It's weird. See, and
that's like a piece of the puzzle that I personally never known. I knew Megan was born with red hair, and then it just changed.
And
Nobody
it
said
changed.
nothing. You never said you had red hair.
Yeah,
You should tell her.
Well, see, and my mom tried to say it was because she craved watermelon during her pregnancy and ate a lot of watermelon.
Strawberry ice cream, anything to make it red.
I mean, hello.
But
that was mom, so
And then you have a lot of people, that due to genealogy and mixing of heritages in the past had practically straight hair.
Yeah.
But you look at both of their parents
Yeah.
who were black,
Right.
but they were fair skinned and they had, relatively straight hair.
I don't have to look like you said any further than my own personal family.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
exactly.
me and his mama, both,
Right.
and our daughter comes out light skinned with
hey.
green eyes and red hair. What the hell? And your mom used to look at her and go, just shake her head like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, there's a lot of people in and around New Orleans, especially. That's where my experience is. That are quite fair skinned and have, relatively straight hair.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I'm like, my friend got that good hair. It's like, oh really? I kind of like mine. It's on my head. Keeps it warm and shit, whatever.
What defines good hair?
But you got that good hair, and then I know some people who hate that. They got straighter hair, but they hate that term when people say, "Oh man, you got that good hair." What the fuck defines that?
Well, you know what?
But that was people wanting to be white.
Right. Well, that's just like with my daughter. I mean, I know she thought her name was 3 names. Light-skinned Megan. Because I literally would ask somebody about, hey, have you seen Megan? Light-skinned Megan?
Light-skinned Megan, right. Because you had dark-skinned Megan and you had white Megan. And so, but I mean, well,
no, you didn't. Just had Megan, but they called her light-skinned.
That's what I'm saying. Because that's it was like as kids, I remember people distinguishing people by gender and skin color, and because like where I lived when I first got to Seattle, there was girl Bobby and boy Bobby. That's how they distinguish. Well, where's Bobby at? Well, which one? Girl Bobby, but and then Big Ronnie, Little Ronnie, and so people always do that. Define people, or just to, I don't know if it's just to keep it straight in their own head or what. Because like you said, wonder, do you know where Megan is? And then they had to go, oh, light-skinned Megan? Yeah, exactly. Because most of the people she hung out with were not as fair-skinned as she is. So I mean, which is what we know about, because we're not African Americans. We've never been to Africa, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that as kids. That's how we distinguished each other, or distinguished people. Like if they both got the same name, or there's 3 or 4 people that's got that name. Well, then this one is one, this one's this, and this one is that. And that's how, it's like, which one are you looking for? Oh, I was looking for so. Oh, well, okay. So, I don't know, that's a societal thing. and same thing, dealing with hair, and then, words that we use to describe each other. So,
I love, well,
but go ahead.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've been commiserating about all the people who may be caught up in the Diddy thing. I mean, my understanding is that even the perpetual leg machine Jr. may be caught up in it, a.k.a. J-Lo.
Oh, God. That's terrible. Well, see, the whole thing is, you have that, I guess we call it different communities of entertainers. So, like if you hung out with this person, or y'all were close at one time, or whatever, well, you're always going to be associated with that person. And then if that person gets in trouble, people start looking at you too.
Yeah, maybe, but if I got a wart on Monday in 1950, if I don't get that sucker cut off in April 2024, that wart's there. It's only bigger. Now I may have moved on from your wart, but I was there when the wart started.
Okay.
That doesn't make me unwartless.
No, but what I'm saying is, people, I guess that's still somewhat true. People judge you by the company you keep.
How else they gonna judge you?
Huh?
How else they gonna judge you?
No, I'm just saying, in society, in American society especially, if there's a group of y'all, right? Like maybe our little group that came up, we've been together for decades. But if one of us did something that's totally horrendous, it would cast a shadow on the other ones.
Right.
So like I say, people judge you by the company you keep. So people that have dealt with Diddy over the years, suddenly with all this rigmarole that's going on, the people that hung with him back in the day, people are looking at them a little differently because of what he allegedly, supposedly, rumor has it that he did.
And that's true. But
It's a big
But-
anyway.
we have a group, an associated member of the group we hang with, have hung with, that has been dirty. And I mean messed up, doing dirt for years and years and years.
But did society, was he caught? I
Yes.
mean, and there's
Yes.
a big thing out there.
He was caught, but he had stepped outside of the group
Okay.
to get caught.
Okay.
He did the same
Okay.
shit inside the group.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. He had to have brought attention to himself or whatever, and he stepped out and went to. But by the same token, it seemed to go more with his new awakening than when he was with us.
I don't know.
So I mean, but I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like when we're dealing with a major celebrity.
When you're dealing with niggas or people of color,
But
you can get away with more and it won't be noticed. But when you step outside that group, that is not the case. And that's what happened.
Okay. But like I said,
Also,
But like
we
I
didn't
said-
call him to the carpet for the stuff that he did.
this be true. You know, I mean that.
We just let it go.
Right, because it's like, well,
Just like with Diddy.
well, it's like it ain't me, but so I don't act like that. So okay, that's that. But we still were tolerant enough to allow him to do all
Well,
that.
see, y'all
crazy
sound
shit.
like you're making yourself part of the bad guys team. Because people who was around Diddy and just was like, well, that's him, and just let it go. Yeah, they're fucking assholes. So you can't say we had a guy in our crew who did, we let it go, but he stepped out, got caught. You guys would be an assholes then if you knew he was doing fucked up shit. Was like,
Right.
Yeah,
it's just him.
And I agree.
Right.
And I agree. And I didn't, I mean, I let it be known to the folks that I saw, that came, hey, this happened. This happened. Beware. This happened. I let them know.
Yeah.
But
Because part of the problem with the Diddys and the R. Kellys and the Jay-Z's and Beyonce's, all of these niggas got dirt, but they have insulated themselves with people who are, at the very least, indifferent to what
and that's what I was saying.
Right.
That's what I was saying. This Negro knew he was doing dirt, knew he was not right, yet we let it go. I know I had discussions with other folk, other than you, about the brother, and they was like, yeah, well, you know, same thing happened over here to me. Oh, really? So why ain't we got him in jail?
Is it true?
Well, it's because he's a brother and he's not doing it to us anymore.
But he's still doing it.
he got to go.
Right. Which wasn't true because we tried to, I tried to take his butt to jail.
But there's a lot. But see, there's a lot of people that, when they're dealing with, now I'm going from our level to Diddy. There's a lot of people that, I don't know if you could say, fell under his spell, which would be, the spell in America is usually monetary. But the thing is, they're hanging out. They're hanging out with this guy who is like, you know, super famous and got money to spend, whatever. And they let a lot of shit go. and just so they could be in that entourage, just so they could be in that group close to this particular celebrity. And so that's what I guess what the problem was. They wanted to be there, so they were willing to overlook a lot of things. On our level, that happens a lot, probably because we just don't want a bad reputation in the hood. But still in all, you know, in the community, we're trying to maintain that, you know, we're still the good citizens that we always have been. But we're, you know, it's kind of like we kind of turned a blind eye to it. And, you know, that looking back on it, you know, may have been wrong, but at the time, we thought it was a thing that we should do. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that we do in life that later on we look back on them and go, the fuck was I thinking? However,
Yeah, that happens a lot.
life goes on, and we're just happy to still fucking be here, because there's a lot of us that ain't,
Yeah,
you know. But yeah.
Well, you know what? All this talk about money has really made me tired. And I think it's time to get up out of here.
Well, you know, hey, you spend a lot of energy mentally, just like, you know, I mean, long conversations, debates, and things. You're just as tired as if you've been climbing ladders and running around all day. So, you know, I'm with you. I think it might be time for a nap.
Well, with that being said, this is Cool Breeze, and check y'all out next time for another exciting, stimulating conversations with old black men.
That's right. Oh, this one wasn't this one titillating too?
I forgot. Hey, because I'm old, I forgot the words.
There's exciting, scintillating, titillating. I mean, there's a lot of them multi-syllabic words. Anyway, I'm the real Cliff Barnes, and as I always say, if you like this, tell your friends, share, you know, because we are part of the Say It Loud podcast, and you can subscribe, and we're not even going into that other thing, so, because I always fuck it up, it's crazy. But anyway, as I said, if you like this, tell your friends, tell your family, share, tell everybody. If you didn't, keep it to yourself. We will see y'all next episode
Of Old Black Men Conversations.
Thank you and good night.